Sure. Number 5. Okay. So question number 5. Basically the limit from the left, the right, and then just the general limit of all three of the exact same things. So I think your WebAssign had one question like this, where we did something similar. So if I tried to do direct substitution, so if I can get this answer, by the way, this is the more picky answer. So if I can just plug in 9 and get an answer, then that would have to be the same answer for these two, right? Because these two have to be the same for this one to even exist. So if just plugging in 9 works, then I get my answer. So plugging in 9, I get 0 over 0, so it's indeterminate form. And so unfortunately, we have to do a little bit more work. Sometimes direct substitution works, but those aren't super interesting questions. So I wouldn't imagine a ton of those on your quiz. But what I could do is I could say, well, let me try to factor it then. This is x plus 9, this is x minus 9. I guess it's all the way through. And to make it not be an indeterminate form, I really want something to cancel. So I can cancel these, sort of, because one's under an absolute value and one's not. So what you really have to think about here is what I'm going to be plugging this into now. If I plug 9 into this, I'm going to be getting 18. Plug 9 in, you get 18. Plug 9 in, you get 18. But there could be some differences in the signs because the absolute value does mess with the signs a bit. So when it says 9 from the left, you might want to think of that as a number slightly less than 9. So we're thinking of numbers that approach 9, but up to that, we're thinking of numbers slightly less than that. So if I plug this in, would the denominator of this one be positive or negative? Negative. Is the numerator going to be positive or negative? Why is the numerator always going to be positive? Right, so the numerator is guaranteed to be positive, but in this case, the denominator is negative. And so a positive divided by a negative is negative. So you got to be careful with the signs. Now if I try from the right and I try to think of a number slightly bigger than 9, does that make the denominator positive or negative?
Positive.
Okay, and the numerator has to be positive. So positive over positive is positive. And so what's that mean for part C? Right, because the left and the right aren't the same thing. So it's almost like you can ignore the absolute value to do most of the question, but then you need to think about the sign. The denominator may be positive, it may be negative, depending on what side you're coming from, but the numerator has to be positive because of the absolute value sign.